Hi, Joyce and Katie. Welcome. I am just letting everyone know that we are in both groups. The bonus. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day, and if not, it will be even more beautiful after this call. Let's get into maintaining freedom and let everyone know we're here. All right. Join us for the bonus workshop now. Hey. Yay. Now I need to see all of you. There you are. Hi. Hello, my beautiful friends. So good to see you. I am so excited that you're all here. Amazing. Such a good turnout. Okay, you guys, today is a really special day, and this comes from, I love the way that I'm just going to make sure my phone is turned off. Okay. I love the way this process of transformation and evolution takes place. I never really talk about the mental and emotional transformation when I begin to work with people to reverse chronic symptoms in their body, because first we need to get to a place where our cells can regenerate, where our liver and our large intestine, which are the largest producers of neurotransmitters in our body, can be free of the constant inflammation and toxins that we put into it, which allows the neurotransmitters to go to our brain so we can think more clearly, feel more grounded. It directly affects the hormone production in our brain, which ultimately has a huge physiological impact on our mental and emotional sense of well-being. So the foods we eat are the way we take care of ourselves, the water we drink, all of the basic steps that I share with you guys throughout this process, both in the Maintaining Freedom group for the 5-day challenge, the content you guys have, and then for those of you in the Have It All program, where we dive even deeper into really fully pushing the inflammation out of your body. That's such a huge, important piece to help with the mental and emotional well-being. And when I went to this course in Florida a few days ago, it was from this organization called the O&O Academy out of India. It's I've been to this place. It used to be called the Oneness University, and these two organizations merged. But I've visited India 3 times and studied there, and I've taken many courses here in the States. And there's one aspect that they keep coming back to over and over and over, this one teaching that's incredibly simple, yet every time, and I'm telling you, it's been years that I've been hearing this teaching and reflecting on it myself, and when you're going to hear it, you're going to be like, this is so simple. You've spent years thinking about this. But every time I hear it and go inside and really reflect and contemplate on it, I see even more transformation to take place because I realize when I'm really, really honest with myself that so often I am in a stressful state. It's not what I want to admit to myself, but so often, so many of us are in a stressful or suffering state of mind. And I'm going to explain more of this soon during this workshop. But there's what we call little sufferings, right? It could be something as simple as like, oh, I have an ache and pain, or something doesn't feel good. Or there's that, this weekend, Katie and Lydia and I were talking about the anxiety, right? Sometimes you can have low level anxiety where you just are like, something feels off, something doesn't quite feel right. And then sometimes the anxiety is really intense. And it's really, really obvious that it can even be debilitating, right? Like make you not want to leave your house sometimes. And I know, Nancy, we were talking about this too in this conversation, right? Sometimes you don't want to leave your house. You get nervous if you're going to have the right food, or if there's a bathroom. Or I used to want to just not see anybody. I did not want to be social because I didn't want to have to explain what I'd been through, what I was going through. Like all of that caused massive anxiety. I've really had to work on that for myself. But there's many different situations in life, from finances to relationships to health to our physical well-being, parenting, our age. We were talking about that, Nancy, at the last call. There's so many different reasons. The weather, right? Like there's a million different reasons why we can be in a state of suffering. And also when we spoke, for those of you in Have It All, we spoke with Sarah Nannon from Grief Unveiled in our last call. And we also really discussed on how, we grieve the body that we once had, the person that we once were. Like there's this grief aspect, right? There's a lot of suffering and sadness and stress in life. And again, from a physiological perspective, that suffering and that stress brings up inflammation in the body. So for a long time, before inflammation was a key word, a buzzword that it now is, before we knew about the term inflammation, we knew that stress was one of the leading predictors to heart attacks and heart disease. We knew that stress was directly linked to cancer. We knew it was directly linked to a lot of chronic health conditions. Why? Because stress is one of the top 5 things that cause inflammation, chronic inflammation. So if you guys remember, right, it's poor diet, lack of movement or too much if you're an endurance athlete, not enough water to support the detoxification process, environmental toxins like pathogens or things in the home, and stress. Those are the top 5 things that cause chronic inflammation in the body. And so constantly, I'm looking at those 5 things, and in the Have It All program, we dive deep into each of those 5 things in our weekly courses, right, to address them. But I feel like stress is similar to health, how there's so many different layers and nuances. You guys are all learning about the nuances of anti-inflammatory eating and the nuances of reading labels and ingredients and the minor players of inflammatory foods and the major players. There's so many nuances. There's so many layers to peel back, which is really beautiful, because that means that on one hand, I used to be panicked that I would never arrive at the state of health or arrive at the state of like constant joy, right? I just wanted to arrive. I just wanted to be there. But then it's also so liberating to know that as we continue to experience vibrant health and vibrant healing, there's another layer that we can experience. It's even greater, even more vibrant, even more joyful, more energy, more rest, more goodness. How cool is that? And the same thing happens when it comes to removing inflammation of the mind, when it comes to removing stress in our body. I see a very strong correlation in my own healing process, and I've seen this for a very long time. As long as I've been tracking my self-care, writing, as I journal my food and write notes in the log of if I'm having a stressful day, like I can be eating really well, taking care of myself, drinking water, like doing all the things that are important. But if I have a really stressful day, or especially if I have like a stressful few days in a row, my body gets knocked down. So it's so important that we learn how to move through the stress without it taking down our healing ability. It's so important to move through the stress and to be able to experience joy in it, in the stress. That is possible. So our thoughts to an emotion are what cause damage in stressful moments. So does anyone here, and I know, Patricia, we were talking over the weekend. I know you had a really rough weekend, Sweetness. So you're welcome to volunteer. If there's anyone here that wants to volunteer some stress that's showing up in their life, and we can just work through this together to model for everyone how our thoughts are what cause the stress and the damage rather than the emotion from the event, which may be unclear, but we'll break through it. Patricia, do you want to share, or does anyone want to share? If you do, just comment. Happy to share, or unmute your microphone. Everyone's like, heck no.
I will.
Oh, yay, Katie. Thank you.
My stress, as you know, the last week was traveling.
Yes.
And we flew on Friday, surprised my dad with a 86th birthday party. He was in tears.
Oh.
First time in over 20 years we celebrated our dad's birthdays with them. And then spent 2 days at my parents' where I cooked all the meals. Went to his parents, spent 3 days there. His mom has really bad dementia, lots of repeating thoughts, lots of telling her one thing and her wanting to do another. And so I spent 3 days there, again, cooking all the meals, and then flying home. And literally, I've been in bed all weekend, and I woke up this morning and I thought, I can't do this. I was just so depressed. It's like I'm back to the monotony of everyday life. And I got up and I opened the curtains and the sun was shining, and I just decided that I wasn't going to stay in that spot. So that's my stress for the last week.
Thank you so much for sharing. I so honor your vulnerability and your courage, Katie, to constantly show up and heal. I'm so grateful for you for being in this place. Thank you.
Yes.
So Katie, there's a lot in this week, right? A lot of stressful moments, not just one. So there was stressful moments in, I imagine, the traveling and not feeling well, right? And when we don't feel well, especially when we have a chronic condition, fear pops up, right? And the fear is an emotion of itself. The fear isn't really what causes the harmful stress on our body. But immediately when we have fear, unless our awareness is so heightened and we've really, really practiced this, which we're going to begin practicing today, there's an immediate thought, right? So we have an emotion. Typically what happens, you guys, is there's an event that takes place. So maybe I'm just going to say we're traveling, right? And that requires a lot of extra energy. Just simply flying on the plane and traveling throughout the day requires extra energy. Maybe you don't have the same water and self-care that you normally do. So there's an event that takes place that causes an emotion. Maybe there's fear because you're not feeling well. And with that emotion, there is an automatic thought that pops up. Sometimes it's subconscious and sometimes it's conscious. When we've experienced chronic health conditions, fear is a very common emotion that shows up for us. Fear that I'm never going to be able to live a normal life. Fear that oh no, my symptoms are going back. Like I was doing well and my symptoms are going back. This must mean I'm like going back to the way I was. Katie's shaking her head like, yep, that was a thought, right? Fear that I know for me, like I would think about the future and be like, I had this whole future planned out and it's all going to the wayside. Like I'm never going to have a career. I'm never going to be a mom that can be present and like active and enjoying my family. Like so many things would play out about my future and what I'm never going to be able to have because I'm going to be stuck in this damn bed. Fear of unpredictability, right? Not being able to consistently plan things. I remember being so fearful for years, like, oh yeah, these great opportunities come up, but I can't actually say yes to them because I don't know if I'll feel well or not. So we all have lots of different reasons. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure you all are thinking of some example of fear. And if you're not, please do think of an example of fear right now that comes up around your health. And if it was just the emotion of fear itself, we could be with it, we could see it for what it is, and it would just be a sensation in the body. It would just be a sensation. Maybe a slight discomfort, but it wouldn't elevate to what we make it out when we say, I'm scared because. The because is the thought that's immediately attaching to our emotion. And that's what causes so much stress on a physiological level in the body. So I'm scared because, so fear itself is fine. But if I give meaning to the fear, if I give judgment to the fear, I'm fearful because I feel this way, I will never have a future. Do I know that to be true? Do I know I'll never be able to have my career or be a mom? Like in that moment when I was so scared years ago, I totally believed that was true, but I actually had no proof for it. I had no evidence. I didn't know that would be the case for my future, and it certainly wasn't, right? And it's not. Like I've written books, I've traveled the world, I'm doing all these amazing things, being present, exploring, going on adventures with my kids. Like my life is here. But back then, when I was feeling in such a deep, dark place, it was so easy to think the thoughts about the fear. So does everyone right now just raise your hand if you're like, I have a thought. There's a thought that I'm aware of that I've had, and I imagine there's more than one thought, but at least one thought around fear in your body and your healing. Good. Okay, everyone has a thought. So, Katie, let's bring it to today. You woke up and you didn't feel well and you're told yourself you couldn't do this. What couldn't you do?
Get back to the monotony of everyday life, cooking and drinking and all of that. The whole package.
So the monotony of everyday life here, like in your house now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of missing maybe your trip, right? Like okay. So what's the emotion that's with you?
Sadness.
Sadness. Okay.
And maybe fear too. Fearful that I'll quit, that I'll decide it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But I know it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie. So there's sadness. Very often there's multiple emotions, right? It's not just like one. They kind of like merge together in this fun concoction smoothie of emotions for us to deal with. So there's fear, there's sadness. And if there was sadness alone, we could sit and we could cry and we could see the sadness as it was, just an emotion coming up. But again, as humans, this is not just because like we're doing something wrong. That's not true. As humans, our brain creates a thought that attaches to the emotion of, in this case, I don't want to be living this monotonous life. Maybe you feel stuck. I don't want to feel stuck in my home, drinking my water, making my food. You want freedom. You want more freedom. Good. And so the thoughts around that are what are making you sad, because I would imagine the thoughts are thinking, this is what it's always going to be. I'm always going to be stuck in here. I'm always going to have to drink exactly my water and eat exactly my food so that I can have my uptime, so that I can stay alive, so I can continue to heal. I'm not going to be able to travel because that knocks me down. Like, I imagine there's a lot of thoughts, of judgments about that emotion. Are you guys all following along with us here? Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple things that we can do when these arise. One is a meditation called Serene Mind, which I'm going to practice and share with you all. A few of you heard it on our coaching call last week and have it all. But this is a practice that was created again from that place, the O&O Academy out of India, where they're very, very well researched, very, very knowledgeable around brain research. And what I find, what they say is to see is to be free. So when we can see the thought that's coming up, that requires our awareness to raise. When we can see the thought, as Katie just shared with us, the thoughts that are causing the real pain, when we can see them, like Katie said, she was like, I made a conscious choice to not be in this place, right, Katie? Did I lose you? Oh, yeah. And so when you made that conscious choice, walk us through a little bit, like what were you thinking and what did that conscious choice look like?
Well, I'm not exactly positive.
Yeah, that's okay.
I just thought that I can't stay in this place where I am, that it's not going to be healthy or productive. And so I really, frankly, just got up and started doing the things that I knew I needed to do. I drank my charcoal water, I made my tea, I fixed breakfast and took a shower and got ready to talk to Jenny because I knew she'd help.
Amazing. That's so good, Katie. And you guys, those steps are what have pulled me out, what Katie just modeled for us all. Thank you so much. That is what has pulled me out of darkness so many times, knowing that there's two choices. Keep feeling what we're feeling, which certainly didn't feel good for you, Katie. And I'm guessing doesn't feel good for any of you who are addressing the thought of fear that you have with yourself right now. Or the second choice is to do something different. What do we do different? We simply take action to do the things that we know help us feel better. Drink the water, take a shower, breathe, walk, eat clean food, find joy in your life. If Lisa was here, she'd be showing us her amazing paintings, right? She's always drawing. Like, find the things that bring joy in your life. And if you're like, nothing's bringing joy right now, then just do the self-care tips, because that helps to move you out. It makes you physically move your body to take action, which allows you to become present with yourself. So you became more present with yourself, Katie. Yeah, as you're talking, there's still emotion there. And it's not just emotion, those thoughts are still there that are still causing fear, right? And so this meditation, the serene mind, what it does is it activates the center of your brain. And in my experience is that the energy behind the thought, so maybe the thought is, I feel like I'm scared I'm going to be stuck like this forever. I'm scared I'm never going to have freedom. The energy behind that thought just drops. And I've done work. I'm actually trained to do this very specific hand technique that it was evolved for PTSD. And for many people that I worked with using this hand technique, it did the same thing. When you do this hand technique, like you activate certain points on your hand and you think this thought, and then the energy behind the thought, it's as if it has no power anymore. It's so cool. And so that's what I'm going to teach you, but you don't have to do a hand technique. You don't have to do all this big training. It's like a 90-second to 3-minute quick practice, quick meditation, whatever you want to call it, that helps to drop the energy behind the thoughts, because remember, it's the thoughts that are causing the stress, the physiological damage in the body. So as we are doing this, actually, before we want to do it, I want to bring up these, when Katie said there's 2 options, right? We are either in a beautiful state or a stressful state. And Katie was in a stressful state. Oh, Katie was in a stressful state. Sorry, get the howler out. Stella, go out. Katie was in a stressful state, and she wanted to move into a beautiful state. Not another stressful state, not a variation of a different stressful state, not just a little stressful state. She wants to move into a beautiful state. Who else wants to move into a beautiful state? Yeah, me too. And the trick, you guys, is to be an awareness, to have our awareness to realize when we are in a stressful state. It is easy to notice it when it's a crisis or a big thing. We get in a fight, we have a blowout knockdown with our husband or our kids, or we have a major health crisis, or like a big financial issue. Like, there's some big stressful things. But what's really important is to begin noticing the little stresses in your life, the little states of suffering, the little stresses, and to begin practicing this practice all throughout the day, every day, because it raises your awareness and it activates the center of your brain, the one second, it'll come to me. The I'll have to think of it in a second. I'm not pronouncing it right. I don't know why. That's funny. The amygdala. Thank you, whoever just sent that to me. The amygdala, the center of your brain that is not active on a lot, like it's not super activated. We have to put intention there to activate it. It raises our awareness and helps us. It's not that stress goes away, but it's that we can see, like my husband is someone who's very reactive, and he's had a lot of trauma in his life. And so it's very easy for him to feel overwhelmed. And so he can walk into the house, and especially, I bet many of us are empaths. We take on other people's emotions probably very easily. And I know I certainly am. And so he'll walk in and I can sense his energy. And immediately that causes a thought in my brain, typically of fight or flight. And it's a thought that's judgment. It's a thought that's bringing stress, like, oh no, something bad's going to happen. Or, oh no, I have to protect myself. Or, oh no, where are the kids? Like some sort of emotion or like, or thought like, oh, I was thinking today was going to be great. And now I have to deal with this energy, right? Like there's all these different thoughts that come up. Even if we've had no interaction, these thoughts start to come up. And it's in that moment that we want to immediately catch the thought by raising our awareness, do this serene mind practice so that we can move on with the day. Because what I've found as I've practiced this more and more, if I do that serene mind right away, like I shift my energy, which shifts the rest of the energy of my family. My husband doesn't have the same reaction that he would have had before. My kids are at peace. Like by me being aware, raising my awareness, we can actually help those that we love and we live with and whose lives we touch every day. So let's do this serene mind, and then I'm going to show you another practice after this, but let's do the serene mind. And the key to the serene mind I'm going to walk you through is to simply be with the emotions, be with the feelings without an expectation that something's going to shift. And that's the trick. Be with your emotions of fear or anxiety or sadness or whatever it is that you're feeling. Be with the thoughts and the judgments and the thoughts of what that fear means or what that emotion means. Be with all of those. So we have to feel them for a minute, which can be uncomfortable, without any expectation that it's going to change. Just simply see them. Just see them. So if everyone, I think you're all sitting up, but if you can sit up with a straight spine, what we're going to do, and feet either flat on the floor or you can sit crisscross applesauce, as my daughter would say. And we're going to take 7 conscious breaths. And what a conscious breath is when you breathe in your nose. We're going to breathe in for the count of 3. So breathe in for count of 3, and we're going to breathe out twice as long for the count of 6. And we're going to do this 7 times. So you can do it on your own pace, but I'll walk you through the first 3. So go ahead and close your eyes and just breathe in for the count of 1, 2, 3. And breathe out of your mouth for the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you breathe in all to your lungs, all the way filling your belly. 1, 2, 3. And on the count out, push your belly up to your spine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 1, 2, 3. I'm pushing all the air out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take 3 more conscious breaths just like this on your own, and keep your eyes closed when you're done. You should be able to hear the air come out of your mouth when you breathe out. And you may feel a little bit better, but don't let that trick you. As your eyes are closed and you finish your 3rd breath, I want you to feel the emotion. Think about the situation, the people, the event, the thoughts. That have been making you feel sad, fearful, trapped, overwhelmed, angry, frustrated, defeated, lonely. Bring all of the emotions, all of the thoughts, so that they can fully be present in you, around you. They are just everywhere. You're fully present with them. And I want you to now imagine a flame in your third eye, which is the space right between your eyebrows, right above your nose, in between your eyebrows. Imagine a red flame there. And as you continue to think the thoughts, feel the emotions, think about the people, the situations, the events, the circumstances that are causing the suffering and the stress in your life. See the flame move directly back to the very center of your brain. And simply watch the flame burn. It will do different things for each and every one of you, but just be present with the flame. Watch it burn. Witness whatever it does. And when you're ready, when you have felt a shift, or you've seen a completion, gently open your eyes at your own time. And notice how you feel. Think about the thoughts and the event and the circumstance, the situation, the people that had brought a state of suffering or stress. And notice what they bring to your emotions, to your body now. And I would love to hear, remembering that each person's experience is unique, and that each person's experience, there's no right or wrong. I've done this many times with people, and they've all had different experiences. But I would love to hear what you just experienced before we go on. So if anyone would like to share, just unmute yourself. Lucille, are you, I feel like I see you talking, but I don't hear anything. Are you? I can't hear you, sweetie. Oh, now I can hear you. Say it again.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, barely, but yes.
I just lost my grandmother on Friday. Had a really rough weekend. Doing this exercise kind of helped me to feel a little more accepting of it, a little more peaceful with it. I don't know. And I don't know if you know, my mom is going through cancer. I went and seen her, and it's getting worse. So I didn't really feel any kind of acceptance with that or better about that. I really don't know how to feel better about that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, sweetie. Lucille, what did you do when you were thinking of the sadness? Were you thinking of your grandmother? Were you thinking of your mother? Like when you did that exercise, what were the thoughts that were coming up to you?
I kind of walked through my weekend since I got the call about my grandmother and kind of just identified the things that I felt through the weekend and tried to find peace with each thing that I was feeling.
Beautiful. So when you do this again, that's so beautiful that you were able to walk through the weekend and to allow yourself to feel, because that can be scary for a lot of people. As you continue to practice this exercise, what I recommend is that instead of moving through it looking to find peace, which I know is what we all want to do, right? And we want to default to that, which is a very conscious thought. It's a good conscious thought to do. But during this specific exercise, simply be with the loss for your grandma, with the grief for your grandma, or if with the grief for your mom. And you may do this two different practices for different situations, right? One for your mom, one for your grandma, and just be with it. Be with the grief, be with the loss, be with. I know when my grandparents recently passed, and there was like the thoughts that were like, oh, but my grandkids will never be able to experience this with them, or I'll never be able to, have this conversation with them or ask them these questions. Like those are the thoughts that were coming up that made the grief, like the grief was there, but the thoughts made the grief so much more intense. When I'm like, oh, I'll never be able to, right? Or whatever that thought may be. And it still happens. Like I'll still drive by my grandma's house and think about, oh no, like I miss her and this is what's happening. But when we can catch that thought, be with that thought, be with that emotion, and watch the fire go to the center of your brain with that thought and the emotion. Rather than also incorporating the wanting to be in peace, of course you all want that, and that is an ultimate goal, but just let that peace go, because that's part of us almost saying, oh, like here's my feelings, here's my emotions, but I'm going to try to like somehow numb them out or push them away or think or pivot them so that I'm really just being in peace. But the truth is that emotion is raw. It's real. Like you just experience loss in your life from someone who I imagine is very important to you.
Yes, my grandma was. My children did get to experience my grandmother. My grandchildren, not so much. My grandmother developed Alzheimer's, so she really didn't even know me here the last couple years. So
Yeah.
they didn't get her as much. My mother, I actually did take. It was kind of like a girl day, and I took like five of us, went down to see her, most of the granddaughters, and her great grandchildren. It was nice, but her cancer is getting worse, and it was really a bummer to talk to the doctor.
Yeah. So when you do this again for your mom, right? Do this again for your mom. This is a practice that we have to continually do. Note it, like sit with yourself, Lucille, for a little bit and just feel the feelings and the thoughts. Like, what does it mean to have your mom who has cancer? And when you said it was a bummer to hear what the doctors were saying, like what thoughts were coming up for you as you were hearing those? Those are the thoughts that you want to be with. And to feel and to see the flame go to the center of your brain with.
Okay, Jenny. That's a hard thing. That's a
It
hard
is.
one to swallow.
It's hard.
It is. It's
It
hard.
takes courage to do this work. And again, the question becomes, do we want to stay in the state we're in or do something different? And we certainly can do something different. Like we can be like, okay, like I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to eat my clean food. I'm going to meditate or take an Epsom salt bath. Like that self-care is huge, right? Huge. It's so huge. And it helps to a very large degree. But it doesn't fully take away the energy behind those thoughts. We, as humans, come onto this planet and we're here to learn these lessons in life, and we all have unique lessons in life that we're meant to learn. And until we fully learn them, we keep experiencing a certain sense of emotional turmoil, the stressful state, the suffering state. And it is my belief, my experience, that as we learn to be with our emotions and thoughts, to see them without judgment, without saying what those mean, because we have an emotion, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be stuck the rest of my life. I'm never going to have a career. I'm not going to be a mom. All those examples I gave to you earlier on, we all have our own thoughts. We all make our own meaning out of our emotions, right? And it's so beautiful to be able to sit in a state of sadness and to be with the sadness, allow our body to process the sadness without making meaning of it, without judging it, without creating all these thoughts. And if we do create the thoughts, because it's a very human instinct, to have the awareness to see it right away, because very often we don't see it. And to do the serene mind practice so that we can be with the emotion and without the thought. Because when the emotion is there alone, we're able to process and learn our lessons and move on so much more easily. It doesn't mean that grief is easy, right? But you can be in such a state of joy. When I sat with my grandpa this summer, some of you were in my coaching program at the time. I sat with him for 5 days as he crossed over, and he did not want to cross on, and so it was very difficult, and he was very scared. So in many levels it was difficult. But as I continued to meditate and practice serene mind and be with the emotion rather than the thoughts, I was able to move the beautiful experience of oneness where he and I, it was almost like we merged together, right? The family merged together. Like there was this beautiful oneness that took place that made it so much easier, probably for both of us, definitely for me, hopefully for him. I like to think that. Thank you for sharing, Lucille.
Thank you, Jenny.
What's beautiful about this practice is that you can do it anytime, anywhere. It's 90 seconds, right? Even if you only are able to do 3 conscious breaths, 7 is ideal. But if you can only do 3 conscious breaths, you know, I've done it when I'm in the, maybe not in the car with, because you want to close your eyes, but pull over like at school, or if there's a moment where, you know, my kids are just, they're driving me crazy, or they're having a meltdown or something, it's take these 3 conscious breaths, visualize the fire in between your eyebrow, move it to the center of your brain, be with the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, without trying to fix it, without trying to consciously move into a peaceful state. We're not doing that. We're simply asking to be present with the thoughts and the emotions as we witness the flame burn in the center of our brain. And so many shifts take place. I do this with my 9-year-old son. I've done it with my 5-year-old daughter and seen immediate shifts. But I'd love to hear from a couple more people if you have a question or your experience as well in this practice. Also, if you're like, some resistance is coming up, or if you're like, this doesn't make sense, or I'm not really sure, or there's, you know, a little bit of hesitance. Let's walk through that too. Who else would like to share? Diana, I'm going to unmute you. Oh, unmute you. Maybe I can't unmute. Oh, there we go. Hi,
I
sweetie.
had a pop-up come up. Good morning. So I'm a little, I'm processing this.
Yeah.
When I'm focusing on the flame, that's pretty much all I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That is correct.
So, I mean, it was instantly calming for me. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just confused. Is that the point?
Yeah. So you guys, it's so simple. I know it's so simple. To see is to be free. So when we allow ourselves to fully see, to be with those thoughts and emotions, to just see them without then, because imagine an emotion comes up. Diana, I'm going to use the example we talked about at our last Q&A call when you said you were traveling and your stomach was upsetting you. And you're like, I don't know if it's because I changed my protein powder or if it was the stress of the people I was surrounded by. But like there was some fear around like, oh, this is always going to keep happening. My body is broken, right? So there was fear, overwhelm, confusion. Those were the emotions. And the thoughts were, my body is broken, or it's always going to be like this, or right, there's all these different thoughts. So if we can see that now, we can sit with those as an example, bring the thoughts forward, bring the emotion forward right after we take those conscious breaths, and to see them consciously now is very different than bringing them up, having them resurface. Let's say this morning your stomach is funky again. We'll just pretend your stomach got out of whack, right? And so very easily, because we think the thoughts that we think are 80% repetitive. 80% of our thoughts are repeat from the past. Okay, science has proven that. So very easily, if your stomach acts up again, it would take us back to the moment where we were traveling and our stomach was acting up, and that thought of I'm broken, I'm never going to get fixed, or I'm never going to heal will pop up again. And then we make even more meaning of that. How is that now affecting my career? How is that affecting my relationship? How is that affecting my finances? I'm making stuff up here. I have no idea if that specifically relates to you, but that is what we tend to do. So we feel this emotion, we create meaning out of it by making this thought. Then when we re-experience it, because we haven't fully process that emotion, that experience. So it's a lesson that we're meant to learn. So we keep relearning it, which is super fun, right? No, it's not. We keep relearning it. We keep having these opportunities to grow and heal from it. But instead, so often we just make meaning of the situation. Again, we create new meaning. So now our thought is, okay, the stomach is making it so that it's difficult for me to work. And I don't know, I'm making all this up, but I can't go on dates or have relationships because I'm embarrassed about having a place to go to the bathroom. Who knows, right? But then we create that meaning out of your new situation that's connected to the old situation, and it turns into this big spider web of thoughts. And it makes that emotion get bigger and bigger and bigger. We feel so overwhelmed, so like in it. We feel so connected to it. It becomes us instead of simply being an emotion that's moving through us. We identify with it. We say, I am sad instead of there is sadness. We say, I am angry instead of there is anger. We say, I am this emotion We become the identity of this emotion instead of simply seeing that there is emotion moving through us. And when we say, I am angry, I am angry because, when we say the because word, we're trying to make meaning out of it. The meaning is really just stories. I'm angry because I'm never going to heal. I'm angry because I'm broken. Do we know that's true? Can you be 100% positive that that is certain, that that is true? No, you don't know if you have no idea. Like, of course you can't be true that you're never going to heal. I know I'm putting words in your mouth. I'm just an example of, you know. And so it's so important in this exercise. We don't become that anger. We see the anger. It is not our identity. It is something that is there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
yes.
In this exercise, we are seeing it. We are not becoming it, because we are consciously, and it may be that you're in the thick of it. I have done this when I feel like I am angry, I am sadness, I am overwhelmed, where it really does feel like it's become my identity at the moment. Like I'm just completely in the trenches, overwhelmed by it. I've done this exercise and it has helped me move on. But if you're not in the trenches, right, you all showed up here right now, so you're functioning enough to be able to listen and talk and like interface, then that means that you're probably able to move yourself in and out of the emotion and the thoughts to some degree, right? So you can be here and we can say, let's feel the sadness, think the thoughts, see them. You're seeing them as a observer. And then you put your attention, just like you did, on the flame. See the flame right here, and watch the flame go to the center of your brain, and your attention is on the flame. But different things will happen for different people. Like I've had explosions in my brain, kind of like bonfires, where the fire is like boom, and it's almost like I feel the emotion or the thoughts just get consumed by the fire. I've had it where I see just like tiny little hot coals in the center of my brain. Like it's different every time I do it. There's no right or wrong, right? There's not something that should happen at all. My son, the first time we tried to do this, he was in such a state of rage and anger that he said, "Mom, I cannot see fire." Like it, like hurt, like he was like, no fire, I can't see fire, I'm so angry. So we did a white lotus and we moved it to the center of his brain, and that seemed to work well too. I don't know, it was a science experiment, but it seemed to work well. But now he does the flame. Now he can do the flame. So there's so much power, you guys, when we can see. So this lesson is to see is to be free. Sometimes you don't even need to do this exercise if you simply see what's happening as an observer. You see the truth of what's happening. I am feeling fear that my husband's going to walk in the door and be reactive. I'm seeing that. Do I know it's true? No, it's not. I don't know that that's what's going to happen. I'm just thinking this thought of what's the same thoughts, because remember, 80% of our thoughts are repetitive, right? So I'm rethinking these thoughts. It's in a form, it's PTSD, right? You're having the same kind of emotional experience that you've had before. So you're already projecting what your future is going to be. Does that make sense? Because of what's happened in the past. In the moment, we're allowing ourselves to be consumed with stories and thoughts that aren't true. Maybe were true in the past, but not necessarily true for right here in the present moment. But because I'm believing them and I'm allowing this energy and this emotion to fully consume me, and then biting into the thought of this is what it means, I'm projecting that into the future, which means it will very likely happen. But if instead I can see the thought, ooh, I'm feeling fear, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or whatever it may be, and I see that I'm creating these thoughts, I see the thoughts that are happening, and I see the stories happening in my mind, sometimes that alone allows you to disengage, allows you to not become identified with those thoughts and the emotion, but to simply allow them to process through, and gives you that sense of calm that you said you experienced. Sometimes,
No,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, please go.
I have I have a 26-year-old disabled daughter, and was diagnosed at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been dealing with everything that comes with her diagnosis for 23 years, and I will be for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And I can get very lost in here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could spend days wandering through my brain,
Yeah.
just kind of trapped in there, by all the grief and the stress.
Yes.
The fear is just overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
For her future, the grief for what mine could have been and has not been.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see where this would be a tool to help me stop. I mean, I could go into days where I just can't seem to break out of this. I feel lost in my own head.
Yeah.
And I could see where this would be a really powerful tool for me too.
Yes.
And that wandering through my own head. It's a very dark place. It's very painful, and I don't know what to do with it. So I could see where this would help with that.
So powerful, right? We can drown in our thoughts.
I do. Yeah.
And you get so entrenched, you're so deep in the ocean that it becomes subconscious, and we don't even know we're there.
Yep.
We don't even know we're there sometimes. We are lost in our thoughts, in our emotions. And it is in having the awareness to see, whoa, I'm deep in my thoughts. I'm lost. I'm like, there are so many stories I've identified too, and I'm letting them become me.
Yeah.
The moment we see that, that's like your first step out, right? There's like these stairs that we're climbing out of the trenches. And that's the first step out, is to simply see it, to acknowledge it with no judgment. You're not a bad person for being there. You're human. And this is what our brains, this is what our minds do. It's what they do, right? This to me is a definition of mindfulness, is raising our awareness so that we can see the activity of the mind and of the brain. And if it's causing harm, we can simply see it and do something a little bit different to make a really big difference.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. And Diana, I want you to know, right, that yeah, I totally get the fear. There is no greater fear than a fear of a mother has for their child who's sick, who's struggling, who's suffering. I know this very innately at a different level, but I know this very innately as well. And here's the deal. We don't know what their future will be. Just because they have a diagnosis, or in the past, this is what their life has looked like, does not mean that's what it will always be. Just like when I was so sick in bed and I thought my life was over. At the ripe young age of 31, my life was over. My prime time in life, my career, my social life, my relationship with my husband, my career, everything done. That's what I thought. And I had good reason to think it. Just like you have good reason to think that of your daughter, the thoughts that you think of your daughter, right? Like, yeah, there's good reason to think that. The experience right now sucks. That doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. But the more we change our I want to say shots. The more we change our thoughts, right? By simply seeing them and doing this practice, then we can become present with ourselves. And when we're present with ourselves, it's at that point in time that we can begin to make conscious thoughts, just like Katie did earlier, where she said, I'm going to consciously choose a different thought. I'm going to consciously choose taking action. And we can begin to see the beauty, where before we're kind of faking seeing the beauty. It's really hard to see the beauty. Let's get to a place where we feel calm consciousness, where we feel a calm state. And it is from that point, it's like you're inside this egg of fear and overwhelm and frustration, and you're trapped. But then you do this practice and you see your thoughts, you see the emotion as an observer, and a little crack in the egg opens up. And as you become present with yourself, you're not stuck in this egg forever. As you become present with yourself and you stop projecting the past experiences into your future, all of a sudden this crack opens up, and this world that you didn't even know existed, it was not possible because before you were in this dark, closed egg. You didn't even know it was an egg. You were just trapped inside this dark, closed spot. All of a sudden cracks open, and there's this whole new world of possibility. This is how life works, you guys. We have to become present with ourselves. We have to be in a calm state of consciousness. We have to put forth effort every day to constantly see our thoughts, to see our emotions, and to do this practice so that we can create a new reality for ourselves. Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing.
Thank you.
I would love to hear from one more person what your experience was like. And it could be like, you could totally be like, that did not work, or that was like, that was a fluke. Like, we can talk through that too. So don't feel like there's a right answer or a right share here. Would anyone else? Joyce, thank you, sweets. Let me try and unmute you. Unmute Joyce. Maybe you try and unmute yourself. There we go. Hi.
Hi. If my dog starts barking, I'm sorry, but
I get it. As a fellow fur mama, I'm fur baby mama. I'm right there with you.
Mine is right now kind of a combination of how I'm feeling with my job and my daughter and the grandkids moving in. You know, it's pretty overwhelming, you know, after being alone with my husband for a long time and now having 3 young ones move in, kind of combining our household and her household and all her belongings into one place. I still have things that I need to find places to put stuff. But we'll get there on that. But mine is more right now with work. Over the last years, I've had employers that have made me feel like I'm inadequate, that I've been put down quite a bit. And I thought I'd gotten past that. And, you know, I really like my job that I'm at now. And things were going pretty good, but I'm not as quick as the younger people. And my thought process is different. And so I can't keep up in the same ways that they do. Mm-hmm. And just recently, my boss compared me to stating, well, they can get it done, why can't you?
Mm.
Which puts me down that much more.
Mm-hmm.
we're supposed to feel a part of a family, and I did. But right now, I don't. I feel like I'm being picked at and put down, and that I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're, especially as you get older, right now, before I got this job, I did look for several jobs, but it's like I'm 62 now, and it makes it harder to be able to find a job around here in a smaller community, because a lot of the jobs, they want younger people, because they want to put that training into somebody that's going to be there longer. But I just, I was just in work. I forgot to go to work Saturday. I totally spaced off. I did not realize that day had been added to my schedule. Nobody contacted me until yesterday. And so I had to go in and go through the rigmarole. I didn't get knocked on it because nobody contacted me and everybody else had overlooked it. But still, it's like all of a sudden, all these little things are starting to surface, and I feel like I'm being picked at.
Yeah.
Because maybe I get this feeling of they're trying to push me out. And it really brings a lot of sadness. I wished I could just go ahead and retire, but we're not at a state where I can right now.
Yeah.
But doing the exercise, that's why I was crying so much. I did feel, I could feel a release. I felt, even though I'm crying now, when you're tense and you're stressed and you're all going through all those motions, I have a tendency, I'll pull my shoulders up and, kind of, it's just one of those bodily things. And during the exercise, I could feel my shoulders start to relax and just all that, just like lifting up and leaving. And it felt really good.
Wow.
Are they gone? No, not really. I mean, but at least I hadn't really sat and deeply thought about them until this morning, until we started talking and listening to you. And I didn't realize just where it was with me until that point.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Joyce. That's so beautiful that there were these subconscious thoughts that were really causing a lot of stress in your body, and they still are right now, right? They're still there.
Sorry, my daughter had to give me a hug.
That's okay. I feel like we all just got a hug.
Would you let Sasha? Thank you.
This is just you are doing such big work. I want you to know this. So you guys, this is a beautiful example of how if you're witnessing Joyce right now, you can see how much suffering this is causing in her life. Yet, Joyce, you said you didn't really see it. You didn't fully acknowledge or see the impact it was having on you, if I understood this correctly, until this morning. And until we began to give ourselves space to feel and see what is actually happening in the body and in the mind, right? Sometimes we're going so fast in life, it's like, I don't have time to deal with this thought. I don't have time to deal with this emotion. Like, no. And so we push away. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to think it. When we continue to push away, it's going to rise stronger and stronger and stronger until it's like, hey, girl, you getting the message? We need to move through this. We need to learn the lesson and heal from this, not keep pushing it away. That's so, so important. And the other thing that you shared, Joyce, is how, two things. Number one, you're like, clearly, there's still a lot of stuff there for you to work through. This is not a like one-time practice, solve everything. Just like healing the body requires every day. We drink a bunch of water. Every day we put clean food into our body. Every day we breathe, we move our body. Like just like healing physically requires effort every day, healing mentally and emotionally requires effort every day too. And it's not massive effort. It requires that we give ourselves a little bit of space, even a couple of minutes, literally, to sit. And you could schedule this out in your day, like morning, lunchtime, and evening. Or if you don't have a strict schedule, you can be fluid, but making sure that you are giving yourself the time every day to feel the emotions and to see them, because we shove them away before we even realize they're coming up. We don't want to deal with them. Yeah. So we have to give ourselves the time. And if that means that, you know, some of the most productive, healing, like amazing times in my life are when I every morning have a routine and every evening have a routine that doesn't require, but it looks like, okay, wake up, I drink my water, take my supplements, and then I go and I meditate. I journal, whatever, like with no, like journaling is just like what's coming up, right? Like what's coming up? Is it like I'm super organized and my mind's on it and creating like these great ideas? Or is it like I'm feeling overwhelmed by a situation in life, whatever it may be, so that I can see what is there? It's our body's way of talking to us. And when you did that meditation, when you did the Serene Mind, Joyce, you said your body released because the stress was going into your body physiologically causing damage in the body. We didn't even know it. And you allowed that to release. So that was just one little layer, right? Now, if you think about the thoughts in your mind are like you said, we should be a family, and that I'm constantly being picked on, and I can't remember all of them, but there were like thoughts about the situation of your boss addressing you, right? Okay, I say this with complete love because I fully understand the situation. I've in a very similar situation in a different relationship, but very similar situation where I felt like, wait a second, this is all backwards. And I really felt like I was the victim, so to speak. And the truth is I was, but that doesn't help me, right? Like that doesn't help me. Just like it doesn't help you, because those are stories. We don't actually know that the boss is picking at you. Maybe the boss sees so much wisdom from you. Just because you're not like this with your thoughts doesn't mean that you can't provide massive wisdom and value. Maybe your boss actually sees that and is trying to just push you along in another way as well to support you. It could be coming from a positive intention where when it lands on us because of our own judgments about ourselves, it feels so cruel and so different. That has been my personal experience. So I encourage you to look in. One of my mentors always told me, every time we point one finger out at someone, there's two fingers pointing back to us. It's a reflection of our thoughts, of ourself, of our emotions, of ourself. And again, this is creating space for us to really see the truth of us, the truth of our thoughts, the truth of our beliefs about ourselves. Do you feel worthy? Do you nitpick on yourself? Do you not feel a sense of belonging generally? Like, are there things, is this really the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe in, right? Just saying, bringing up like, hey, Joyce, this is an opportunity for you to look within. And that is the perfect place, because then it's like, what do we do with this? If you uncover, like for me, like I had uncovered that, yeah, no, I don't have this strong confidence I thought I had, or I don't feel a sense of belonging, or whatever it may be, right? Like, now what do I do with that? Great. Now what, right? We do Serene Mind. That's what we do with that. So it's uncovering these nuggets, these beliefs that we feel about ourselves, which is an emotion and it's a thought. It's not necessarily true. It's just a thought that we've chosen to believe for some reason. Doesn't mean it's true. Do a Serene Mind and see if it releases. It is a practice to do multiple times a day, every day. 90 seconds, you guys, you can do this in 90 seconds. You can go to the bathroom, pee, and not leave the toilet and do Serene Mind. Like at work, babysitting, like wherever you are, it is possible to do this, right? We don't have to set up like a big meditation thing to do this. No. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I know I said that was the last person, but if there's anyone else who wants to share, just let me know, because I think it's powerful. Yes, my dear Patricia. I'm seeing if I don't know why I can mute you guys, but I can't unmute you as well. Will you unmute yourself, sweetie? There you go.
I'm sorry, my phone was messing up. I was trying to get in earlier, but it kept like blanking out on me. But anyway, it's fine now.
Okay.
I had to restart the phone. But I just want to say, when I was doing that, I felt fear, because I've always been afraid, even as a little girl, you know, with the experiences that I've went through. And I saw it burning up. I'm going to be okay no matter what.
Yeah, you are.
And that is healing within itself, because my biggest fear is fear itself.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of stuff going on. My fiance's going through midlife crisis, and oh my God, like it's just like it's trying to suck me in. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay strong. I'm gonna do this because I am doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I lost 21 and a half pounds.
Woohoo!
And I think we're on week 5, right?
In
5 weeks.
6, yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah, that's amazing.
So I am doing it, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm letting that energy, you know, push me forward. Like, it doesn't matter what anybody feels around me. I know who I am. I'm going to be fine.
That's everything.
You know,
that's everything.
Strong person, so I know no matter what I face, I'm going to be fine.
I love you so much. That insight is everything. If you really believe you're going to be fine, that is the ultimate state of trust. That is the ultimate state of trusting yourself, of trusting whatever, if there's a higher power you believe in or not, like that is just trust. And if you believe you're going to be fine, then you'll find it's so much easier, as you're sharing, Patricia, to take action instead of freezing, being frozen in fear. Instead, it's so much easier to take action and say, I'm going to do it anyways. And maybe there is fear. Maybe that, like, we're human. We're always going to have emotions that show up. Life is always going to present challenges. That's never going to go away. It's just how we choose to move through them by raising our awareness, becoming an observer to what is going on, and taking action with serene mind, with self-care, with belief, with trust. That is how we heal. Because when you remove the fear that is such this underlying toe and force for so many of us, it causes chronic stress and chronic anxiety, which makes our body live in a low vibrational frequency. It makes our body become acidic. This is the physiological consequences of stress on our body. It makes it very difficult to put our body into a total healing state. Yes, there's action steps we can do for sure that help, that you are all doing. But to complete the healing, it requires that we get to the subconscious, and even subconscious, which, how do we find the subconscious? We be with ourselves, just like Joyce was today, creating that time to see what's coming up, right? Those are the subconscious thoughts that have been impacting her. They've become conscious today. She now has the insight. She sees them. So now she can do serene mind with them. To say that your fear was of fear itself, you simply had a thought about fear, and that's what was making you scared. And when we can do serene mind, I believe, if I understood this, you said you did serene mind and that just burned up. Is that right? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Trisha? It just burned up.
Yeah.
Now you have trust. So now that low level of chronic stress, of chronic anxiety, of the chronic fear is not creating the acidity. It's not creating the low level of vibration. It's opening up your body to even more healing. And with that comes the healing, the removing of inflammation in the brain and in the mind. Yes, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So remember, whether your experience was like, that's a huge monumental experience and shift to have, Patricia. Whether it's a huge monumental shift, whether it's an insight that came up, whether you felt your body relax, or you just felt a slightly calmer state, all of those are the most magical wins, because they're moving you in the direction of healing. And it's one more thing that you can do that's short, that's subtle. It doesn't require massive effort. It just requires a little effort, a little attention, a little awareness, and 90-second practice to do throughout the day. What I found is that I got to a spot where I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I've had all this healing. I've had all this success in my life in different areas. Like, my kids are doing better, like all this. But there was these subtle stresses in my life. I didn't even know where they were coming from, like the subtle anxiety or subtle things happening. And that can come from detox. Like, detox does cause anxiety because of the lack of neurotransmitters being sent to our brain. Needless to say, like, it's helpful to know that, right? But still, it's there. So when I began to see the very subtle little sufferings, and I began doing this practice and asking for insight around it, so many incredible shifts began to take place. So if you're listening to this, you're like, oh, I'm in a pretty beautiful state. I encourage you to really see the subtleties, the little stresses in your life, and practice this with that. So remember, the steps to this protocol are very, very simple. You take 3 to 7 conscious breaths where you're breathing in your nose, ideally around the count of 3, and out your mouth for twice the count. So count to 6. If you couldn't breathe that long, you could breathe in the count of 2 and out for the count of 4. Or you could breathe in the count of 4 and out for the count of 8. You get the idea, right? So when you breathe out, when you're breathing in, you want to breathe into your lungs all the way, fill up your abdominal. And when you breathe out, you want to push your belly button against your spine. It's like a waterfall of air coming out your mouth so that you're really getting a full extension of your breath coming in and out. Oxygen itself, that alone is deeply healing on a physiological level to the body. So you'll notice a shift right away. Like, oh, that feels good, right? So 3 to 7 conscious breaths. And then you observe the thoughts. You observe the emotion. And there may even be some insights, like Joyce, some insights that come up for you. Be with them. See them. Invite all of them in without saying, oh, I need to turn this to peace. Just be with those thoughts and those emotions. Then see the fire in between your eyebrows and your third eye. And observe the fire as it moves to the center of your brain, to the medulla. Now I'm forgetting the name again, but well, I'll find it. I'll post it for you guys. And simply watch the flame as long as you need, as long as it's there while it's doing whatever it does, and be with it. And once you feel a sense of completion, check on those thoughts again, check on the emotion again, and see if the energy or power is behind it. Maybe it is. And if it is, then ask for a deeper insight. Ask to see your truth. There may be something that's trying to surface subconsciously that we want to see. But more times than not, you'll feel some sort of experience. And it is the most simple, beautiful practice. And often it requires that we make a commitment to ourselves, right? A spiritual commitment, a healing commitment, whatever you want to call it. Your truth, a commitment to move into a beautiful state, to move out of a state of stress and a state of suffering. Because sometimes, you guys, and I see this with myself a lot. I'm super guilty of this. We can move into a state of suffering and we become addicted to it because it feels more comfortable to be in the state that we've experienced the majority of our life. We know what to do with that, rather than to move into, like, to put the effort, even though it's a small effort, to put the effort and to move into a beautiful state. There can be so much resistance that comes up to do that. I can't tell you how many times I've sat and observed. I'm like, okay, I'm observing this. I see the thoughts. I see the emotion. Okay. I still am feeling discomfort. I'm still feeling, like attachment to these thoughts in some realm. I know I should meditate. I know I should do this, but I don't really want to. I cannot even tell you how many times that has happened to me. And until I go back to say I made a commitment to myself to live in a beautiful state, it doesn't have as much power. So as you're here, right now, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to make that commitment? Do I consciously choose to live in a beautiful state and take the small effort required to move out of a state of suffering, to raise my awareness? I encourage you all to make a sacred commitment to yourself if this is what you want. And then the last thing I want to share with you is this another meditation that comes from the same place, the O&O Academy. And this woman, her name is Preeta G, who records these. The Serene Mind, there's actually a recording. It's 5 minutes that she does, and I'll share it with both of you in both of the groups. And then there's a another recorded meditation that's 15 minutes, and it's called Soul Sync. Some of you, and Have It All, may already have done this, experienced it. It's in our course. But if you haven't done it, I highly, highly recommend it. It brings you into a limitless state of consciousness, meaning you are in a state where all possibilities exist. You feel that. It is a calm and beautiful state. And I love this meditation because it has you count 8 breaths. You count them on your fingers. So the first time you're just taking a deep breath in and out, and in and out, and you're counting on each finger. So for those of you that have a hard time sitting, like me, it's nice because you can move your fingers. And then every 8 breaths, it gives you something else to do. So the next round is humming. The next breath, you breathe in and you catch the small little point in between your in-breath and your out-breath where there's a small pause, and you just notice it. So you breathe in and you just notice for that split second, put your attention on that pause, and you breathe out. The next round, you say this mantra, aham, which means I am limitless consciousness, quietly to yourself. The next round, you're sitting in limitless consciousness, and she walks you through all this. But I like it because it's kind of giving your mind something to think about. If your mind tends to drift, when you try to like sit quietly and meditate and you're like, I'm all over the place, this gives your mind something to think about, and it gives your body something to do as it puts you into the state of limitless consciousness. And then you create one intention. You set one intention at the end of this meditation. And there has been a lot of research done on this specific meditation, actually. And I believe they said it's either 70 to 80% of the intentions are manifested more effectively or more quickly than just setting an intention, right? So when you're in this state of limitless consciousness, when your body, your soul, everything believes that the possibilities exist, when you're open, it's when that crack in the egg has opened up and you're in this new world, this new space. You set an intention there. And I know that Katie and I have talked about this, like doing that and asking for an insight to come in. So if you feel lost, Diana or Joyce or anyone, if you're like, I'm feeling this anxiety, I don't know where it's coming from, or I'm feeling this overwhelm, or I'm totally stuck in my head, I'm drowning in my thoughts, I don't know what my truth is. I want to see the truth of my thoughts that are coming through so I can begin to shift them, have the awareness of them. Ask that in your intention. Show me the insight that will help me heal the situation. But you can also ask for anything that doesn't harm you or another person. You can ask for, and I am telling you, it is powerful in terms of manifesting. Those of you and Have It All, we have Jen Gottlieb is coming on to talk to us about manifesting, and her stories of manifesting and how she does it are unlike anyone else I've ever heard. She's so incredible. She just emailed me right before this that we have to change the time because she has an all-day event that came up she has to do. So I'll keep you posted and Have It All. But manifesting, being open to your truth, to a new truth, and seeing how we, again, if 80% of our thoughts are repetitive, we can project our old beliefs and our old thoughts onto our future so easily. But when we're present with ourselves, when we're truly being present, we're not projecting those old thoughts. And this Serene Mind helps you do that. So does Soul Sync. So I really encourage everyone to do Soul Sync in the morning. Wake up, first thing, do Soul Sync. When I do it consistently every day or even 5 days a week, it is a game changer. When I see myself falling out of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not soul syncing, and I can totally tell. And then as Serene Mind comes up, right, you just do this practice as any sort of state of suffering or stress shows up. And I would love to hear, and in the next week, I would love to hear from all of you in our groups to see how is it going? How do you feel? What shifts are you experiencing? And it could be subtle. It could just be like, I'm having an awareness. That's huge. That's not just, that's huge, right? Remember, this is a process of peeling back the layers one at a time. But it's so important to do this work for the mental and emotional as we're doing the work for the physical as well. Now that you guys are at a place where like, okay, you have a foundation, you've created some new habits around self-care for your physical body, let's incorporate the mental and emotional. All right, my dears, any questions before we go? Anyone? All right. Well, I love you all. Thank you so much for showing up today. I really honor the work that you're doing. I honor the space that you're in. I honor you for showing up to be the change you wish to see in your family and yourself and in the world, because you guys are making such a huge impact on so many more people that you've not even met, right? When we raise our own vibrational frequency, when we show up to do the work, we are impacting so many people, because we are all, science has proven that we are all connected through quantum physics. We are all connected to some degree. And as we shift our energy, that's the number one thing in our own healing that we can do to help those that we love. It's the number one thing we can do to help end war. And I don't say that lightly, like really be the change you wish to see in the world, and you can make such a huge impact. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. I'm so honored you're here. I love you guys. Have a beautiful day, and we will talk to you soon. I'll put this recording up in both groups as soon as it does its processing. Bye, you guys. Take good care. Mwah. Kisses. Bye-bye.